Welcome to another G10 Tech review. Today we'll be doing two things. We'll be changing the air cleaner on our Subaru Impreza 2014 and we'll also be changing the oil. So you'll typically need to change your air cleaner if it becomes clogged. For me, I'm doing it as a part of routine service as recommended by the Subaru Owner's Manual. This particular project is very easy. It's something you could easily do at home without going to the shop. Now in terms of supplies for this project, all that's required is the air filter, a small screwdriver, a slotted one, and a pair of gloves. Now don't make the mistake I did. I removed the air shroud that leads to the filter housing. That part doesn't need to be removed at all. And I also removed the mass airflow sensor and disconnected the hose just so I could get a little more room to work. So to remove it, you just use this slotted head or flathead screwdriver and then you just wiggle it out. And then once it's removed, you have a little bit more space where you could remove the air filter and just make sure you clean inside there. So any little debris that you find inside there, just clean it out before installing the new filter. That's the old filter and this is the new one. So with your new filter in hand, all that's required is for you to insert it in the housing the correct way. So ensure that the plastic is facing the inside. Once it's inside the housing, all that's required is for you to close it and snap the clips back into place. If like me you remove the air cleaner hose or the hose that goes to the engine to supply the air, you will have to reconnect it. So just the same, the opposite of how you removed it, you insert it and then tighten the hose clamp onto it. If you did remove the shroud, all that's required is for you to simply place the open end back into the housing where the air filter lives. So you just take it, stick it in there, and then you tighten it. What you might find, however, is that if you just place it down without aligning the opening, you'll find that the holes for the screws do not fit. So ensure that the back here, that little portion down inside there, it's aligned correctly with the opening in the air filter housing. After it's aligned, it's simply held down with two clips, the two plastic clips which you removed earlier. Just place the two clips inside the space and then you just press down on the top to lock it into place. It's that simple, and then your installation is complete. Now here's a look at the complete project. So you have the shroud here that feeds air all the way in, goes through the filter, and then from the filter it goes past the mass airflow sensor and into the back of the engine there. Now it's time for the oil change. Whether you're doing it as part of your routine maintenance as recommended by the manufacturer, or it's a case where you've gotten the service indicator light on the dash and you choose to do the maintenance. In this video, I'll show you how to change the oil on a Subaru Impreza GP7. Before you begin, you'll need a few supplies. You'll need oil, filter, oil filter wrench, a socket and socket wrench, jack, you could use the one that comes with the car, a pair of jack stands, a funnel, and a pair of gloves. Start by putting the jack under the car at the jack up points. Place the car on a jack stand once it's jacked up, and then you could loosen the oil filler cap. Just turn it counterclockwise and that will help the oil flow easier once underneath the car. Once you're under the car, you'll see a number of screws and slots underneath the car. This is on the engine guard or skid plate. Do not open any of those screws, and you don't need to open any of these little housings either, or latches or access doors. But if you're curious what's behind the doors, I'll just open one of them to show you. Not anything related to the oil. Alright, so what you want to do is just close it back and then go back a little further. The other one doesn't lead to the oil either, just in case you're curious. So just keep moving back a little bit, and then once you go far back enough, you'll see this open access panel with a 17mm bolt. That's your oil drain pan. So just grab your 17mm socket, place it on the bolt, and then use that to open the drain plug. Once the drain plug is opened, you could just thread it out by hand once you've loosened it sufficiently. Use your hand to finish threading it out, and then the oil will start flowing. Ensure you have your oil drain pan or container underneath the car ready to catch whatever is coming out. Just leave your oil drain pan to catch everything. You might find that as the oil drains out, you'll need to shift the position of the pan if it's not a big enough pan, just to ensure that the oil doesn't spill everywhere. So you might have to just slide it over a little bit so that the oil falls into the pan. Once topside, you can remove the oil filler cap to assist with the oil flowing a bit faster. Additionally, now would be a good time to use your oil filter wrench to remove the oil filter in case it was over tightened. Point to note: when replacing the oil filter, do not tighten it with the wrench, just use your hand to tighten it. In this case, the oil filter was a bit tight, so I had to use the wrench to remove it. But once it's slackened enough, you could just use your hand to finish removing it, and all the oil would have drained out already. Get your new oil filter and make sure to lubricate the O-ring before installing the filter. Once you've lubricated the O-rings, then you could just go ahead and thread the filter on by hand, ensuring that you don't use any tools or anything to over tighten the oil filter. Even though I didn't show it here, once it's tight, you just want to tighten it with your hand a little bit so that it's snug. Go back underneath the car and use your fingers to thread in the 17mm bolt into the drain pan once all the oil has dripped out. Just thread it in carefully, making sure that you do not cross thread the bolt. Once you've had it tightened as far as your hand can tighten it, then you'll take your 17mm socket to complete the tightening process. Next up, lower the car from the jack, ensure it's on a level surface. Once the car is on a level surface, then you get your oil. Use your owner's manual to find the correct grade. For mine, it's 0W20. Once you have the correct grade oil, use your oil funnel, remove the oil filler cap, and pour fresh oil into the car. Your owner's manual will also tell you how many bottles of oil you need. In my case, I needed 4 bottles of oil. And that's basically 4 quarts. Each bottle is a quart. After pouring in the 4 bottles, remove the dipstick, wipe it clean with a clean cloth or shop rag. Once the dipstick is clean, reinsert the dipstick and then remove it to check your oil levels. There are 2 dots or 2 holes at the bottom of the dipstick. Your oil needs to be between the lower mark and not above the upper mark. If the oil levels are correct, now would be the time to go ahead and replace your oil filler cap and close the bonnet on your car. Just check to make sure you've cleaned up any spills, and then you can go right ahead and start your engine, and your service is complete. So today we would have covered changing the air filter on the Subaru Impreza GP7 or JP20 car. We would have also looked at how to change the engine oil. These are 2 simple processes which can be done at home without needing to take the car to the shop. Just be sure to observe all the safety precautions covered by your owner's manual, and also to use your owner's manual to ensure that you're using the correct fluids for your particular brand of automobile. Thank you again for tuning in to another G10 Tech review. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe.